We are here with you live, and it is wonderful, wonderful to be here with you once again. I have had the absolute beautiful joy of being able to travel overseas. I went across to Turkey. I went to Qatar as well. I was fortunate enough to be able to bring home a beautiful Turkish carpet for my new home, which is in transit. I bought the most gorgeous, gorgeous leather jacket, and I also brought home the most horrendous chest infection and a horrible, horrible barking cough. So I'm going to do this today for as long as I can, given, let me move some things on my screen, given that there's always the chance and the possibility that the cough is going to take over and I'm going to end up having one of these horrible coughing fits. But we are going to talk about complex trauma today. We are going to do some tapping on, not necessarily complex trauma, but to give you a bit of an idea, an indication, some things that you can do. But this being the last Thursday of the month, we are going to answer some of the questions that sort of come around. So we keep a bit of a data bank of the questions that we get asked, whether it's in our practitioner training, whether it's something that comes through on one of our social medias, whether it comes through one of the other avenues that we have for offering training. We will see what comes through. So today, the first question we've got cab off the rank is, how does EFT tapping set apart from other therapeutic approaches? What a great question. This is a very, very broad question, so I'm not going to go into as much detail maybe as we could of what all the other therapeutic approaches are, because there's some amazing, amazing therapeutic approaches out there and other modalities that are used to help people overcome all sorts of things, whether it's the trauma, whether it's abuse, whether it's addictions, phobias. There's a whole lot of them. So when we think and talk about EFT tapping, one of the reasons I fell in love with tapping so much was a number of the other therapies that I had used, which was sort of more in the counselling, or maybe call it in the talk therapy space. There was an element for me of, I got to talk about my problem and talk about my problem and talk about what was going on and talk about my problem, but there was nothing to move it, nothing to get it shifted, nothing to sort of, probably the best way to put it, nothing to move it on. So what I found was I would get angrier and angrier and angrier because I was just talking about my problem over and over. There was, I suppose, an element of re-traumatizing myself by just talking over and over. I was tapping because we have the conversation, we talk about what's going on, we talk about the issue, we talk about the negative emotions, the feelings, the memories, everything that goes along with it. We talk about it while we tap, and we talk about it while we tap. And the benefits of talking about it while you tap are you're actually activating those meridians of the body. You're able to send messages back to that limbic brain, to that fight or flight response in the brain, to just pretty much say, this thought, this memory is okay. So what sets it apart for me is the ability to shift the energy in and around what's going on with the issue, the problem, or the memory, rather than just sitting in it and rehashing it. Number 2, what are some common misconceptions about EFT tapping when it comes to dealing with complex trauma? Oh, I love this one as well. What I have learned with dealing with some complex trauma, I do a lot of charity work with a charity that looks after people who have suffered sexual abuse as children. What I have really learned with working with those people is the more complex traumas that we have are incredibly multi-layered. Now, what I have seen with practitioners is, while we talk about you can use EFT tapping on anything, you absolutely can. When we come to the more complex traumas, there needs to be an extra level of skill that you need to have mastered to really hold the space for these people, and not necessarily in the session. However, what you need to be able to do is recognize that there can be spiraling after a session. There can be, you've opened Pandora's box. They've talked about one part of their issue, but there will be other parts of their issue that are not divulged in that session or don't come through in that session that need to be managed. So there needs to be a support system in place for you and your clients moving forward. So once you've had a conversation with them and dealt with some of their trauma, there needs to be a follow-up process in place. So the misconceptions are that you can just go headlong into it, bang, straight into something with tapping. You can, but that would never be my recommendation when things are complex and now are very, very triggering, what we would love to do is see you go into a sneaking up on the event rather than just go headlong into it. That's just my opinion. Specific techniques or variations to tapping that work best for different types of trauma. So one of the fabulous things we love about EFT is the ability for, I'm going to have a cough, the ability of being able to, the ability to be able to go into different sort of traumas. I'm going to end up having a drink here. Picks up, I'm going to end up abandoning the call, I'm sorry to say. Right, see if we're good to go. Right. Different techniques and variations. Okay, so with tapping, one of the fabulous things about tapping is we have a technique called the movie technique. The beautiful thing about this movie technique is it allows our clients to move through the process in the event and move through the impacts of the event. Last one. Move through the impacts of all of the events that are going on for them without them actually going into. So the movie technique's really, really cool. You will work with your clients. They will run like a movie in their head without them divulging any of the details. So it's a really, really great one because a lot of complex trauma that people have, they don't actually want to divulge the details. They don't want to talk to you and tell you exactly what happened. So this movie technique allows them to run the movie in their head. And the idea would be once they get to a start that's sort of like a peak or an intensity, they'll let you know, and you'll be able to focus in on that part. The movie technique is one of our favorite ones. What else there are is sort of like more sneaking up on type of events. Like instead of saying going into a movie of what happened, it could be the conversation is when you think about even talking about what that trauma might be, what's the intensity? And so we kind of sneak up on the event by even higher up, sort of more dissociated stuff by keeping it even higher again. So there's a number of techniques that we use in EFT so that we're not pulling someone headlong into their trauma. So yeah, there absolutely is. Movie technique, the sneaking up technique are just two of them. How can I identify if EFT is the right approach for my trauma experience? The old adage is use EFT on everything. Now, to know if it's the right approach, I guess it depends on the complexity of your trauma. May you need to work with a practitioner such as myself to take you through something that's more complex? Because remember, the human brain is designed and wired to, when we get to something that's really, really challenging, or our brain has packed it away for a reason, or it's very upsetting and very traumatic, I said our brains will get to a certain part and then suddenly it will go, we're not going there, and it will make everything else suddenly more important. Your phone picked up, you'll need to make a cup of tea, you'll think about ringing Auntie Mary, whatever it is, something will distract you because your brain's job is to keep you safe. So it knows when you get into those certain memories and stuff, it can't go there. So it will take you out of there. So maybe you might need a practitioner to take you through. Is it the right approach? I believe it is for everything because it's on the end of your own fingers. It gives you the control. It allows you to feel into your body, and it allows you to get connected to your mind-body experience so you can go where you need to go and you can clear your own stuff. What role does mind-body connection play in the effectiveness of EFT for complex trauma? Amazing, amazing question. A lot of the work we do, the way we train our practitioners, is very much focused on that mind-body connection. We want you to be connected to your body. We want your clients to be connected to their body. We want you to help them and support them in connecting to their body. Now, what we mean by this is there are three primary places that the body will tend to react when something's upsetting, bothersome. The three places are, it's either the throat, it's the chest, so my throat gets all gummed up, the chest gets tight, or the tummy does butterflies. When you can help your clients to connect to those spots, when you can help your client to really focus in on what's happening in their body, I like to think of it as my early warning system. If I'm talking about something and my throat's getting all gummed up, there's a good chance there's some memories and thoughts and stuff coming through in my subconscious around this topic that I'm having this conversation about. Lots of people feeling in tightness in their chest, the tummy. It can show up other places. The important thing is knowing where yours is and being able to connect where yours is. And the same with your clients. You want them to be able to connect in to what's going on in their body, because my theory is the mind can lie, the mouth can lie, the body doesn't lie. Can EFT be used as a standalone therapy, or does it need to be integrated with others? As a single therapy, it is amazing for being used on its own. And the reason for that is we have two elements to it. We have a talk therapy part of it, and then we have the activating part by using your tapping. And the ability to use these both is people are having the negative conversations, they're going through the negative emotions, they're verbalizing and voicing what they're thinking and feeling, and they're clearing it at the same time. So it can be used as a standalone therapy. We highly recommend it as a standalone therapy without needing to use it with other things. Have some of our graduates incorporate it into other things? They absolutely have. It's a personal choice, but definitely as a standalone therapy, it is amazing for doing it as that. How long does it take to see results, positive results, when using tapping, and what factors can influence the timeline? All right. Positive results. You could do one session of EFT, whether it's on your own or with myself as a practitioner. You could do one session and you could feel amazing results. Now, we don't talk about see amazing results necessarily versus feel amazing results, because you've started to shift the energy in your body. So it can take as simple as one session. It could be 10 or 15 minutes sitting at home, tapping on this thought that you've got going on. You've had a fight with someone and you could just sit and you could just tap on this fight, this fight, this fight, this fight, this fight, this fight, this fight. You do that for a couple of minutes, your body will calm down. All right, that's just the way that EFT works. In terms of complex trauma, I guess it comes down to what's the impact of the complex trauma? How is it actually showing up? Because when we start to do tapping work on stuff, we want to think about what's the actual impact to your day-to-day life, because that's one of the biggest keys. What's the impact to my day-to-day life? And that's what people want to get resolved, fixed, repaired, whatever the right word is for you. So when it comes to the positive results, you'll see them fairly quickly. In terms of the complex stuff, it will be how quick are the changes to the behavior and how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis and the longer-term stuff. So while we can see changes very, very rapidly for stuff, it depends on the complexity and it depends how quick you're going into it. But it certainly can be in a matter of a couple of sessions, not needing to be months and months and months and months and months. We don't work like that. All right, next ones. How can I incorporate EFT tapping into my daily routine to support ongoing healing from my trauma? By making a commitment to do tapping every single day. Not everything is going to need to be about delving into some sort of complex trauma. You can do the work by just dealing with the day-to-day stuff. So your partner says something to you and you find yourself a bit triggered, a little bit activated. You could do some simple tapping on the thing that they said to you or how you feel about what they said to you. We know that the drivers come from trauma, but it doesn't mean that everything needs to be going into that trauma. You don't need to do that. You can simply and easily do a couple of minutes tapping on the day-to-day triggers and those day-to-day activations that will help to shift all of it and help to shift most of it through as a day-to-day thing. So that's what you're going to do for your daily routine. I'm just reading what the questions are. So that's your daily routine. Is tapping suitable for all ages? Oh my God, it is. If you can get children in your life doing some tapping on a day-to-day basis, that would be freaking amazing. Now, when I talk about getting children to do it, it can be the fun stuff of talk to them about their day. Get them to tell you about their day and see if they'll do some tapping with you while talking about their day. No complex words, No phrasing, just literally, how was your day? What did you get up to? And they may start to tell you about what so-and-so did to them in the playground, or what so-and-so said, or how they felt about something they saw on social media, whatever it is. If you can get them tapping while they're talking, that'd be fabulous. You may try to get children to do maybe a little bit of a routine before they go to bed. I'm happy to let go of all of the worries from today, everything that bothered me today, everything that somebody said. I can just let it go. Don't need to take it to bed with me. I've had enough of that. I can just leave it be, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. Simple little routines like that with children. Now let's fast forward into our teenagers. They may be a little bit more challenging, but maybe you've got a teenager who's right into this personal development stuff who'll be embracing it. Same again, just talk to them about what their day was like, what was said, what happened, and just tap with them. Then getting into us adults. Your tapping can be up to, as long as your hands are working, you can do tapping. So you can do it through any age. We are never too old. It's always worthwhile developing ourselves and clearing out our triggers and our traumas, no matter what age we are. But I love the idea of getting kids to do it. I would never expect someone to force children to do it. Make it a fun experience, a bit of a game, a bit of a laugh, and you might be surprised what they do. The last one is, can tapping be effective in addressing some trauma that is deep-rooted or has been present for many years? That is one of the beauties of EFT tapping. It does not have to be something that's recent. We can take things that are, or I should say, it's not relevant to the length of time you've had something. The basis of it is we want to go back to the first time you felt that, or the first time that memory happened, the first time the event happened. We go back there and release and work through the thoughts, the emotions, the triggers, the impacts back then. It then carries forward into today. Because if you're no longer triggered by somebody saying, I don't know, something about your weight, or somebody noticing you in public, or something about being in a room and it feels like something that happened in a room, if we can go and release those triggers and traumas and stuff back at the origins, the impacts are then that when you get into where you are today, those thoughts no longer trigger you today, because it's all about releasing what was once scary, which was once frightening, which once threatened your safety, to no longer have that trigger in that fight or flight in your brain that was scary. So if you can walk into a room that used to cause you a lot of anxiety or a lot of reactions, and you can walk into that room and go, oh, well, I've got no reactions. That's a great thing. That's what tapping can do, because we've gone back to the past and we've released the thought process that you had back then, or the memory or the story that you created around that. So today, it's no longer a problem. So I am going to head off because I can feel my voice starting to waver. So I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. I'm going to thank you so much for being here. It has been a joy. I love coming to you. It will have a much, much, much better voice. And I just want to thank you for persevering through my little cough that I had. And just, any questions, please pop them into the chat. Any questions we can answer for you, again, pop them into the chat. We keep a little library of them so I can answer as many of them as I can for you, as often as I can. And I will see you next week with a much, much better voice. Bye-bye.